every time people talk about people coming to God because of prosperity and how people interact with God from a need standpoint, there's always a lack of empathy in their voice. You can see that these guys are not empathetic. You can see that they don't give a hoot about humanity. For them, it's about what they think should be. There was a woman who was bent over on a Sabbath day. Now, according to the Pharisees, they said, on the Sabbath day, you should not heal. That was what they were concerned about. They were never worried that this woman was coming to that temple day in, day out, in pains. As they said, healing should not happen on the Sabbath. It's not like they did it on Monday.
They didn't do it on Monday.
That's how to know how wicked they are.
You're a wicked person.
No, you know how to.
You were not moved by her pain. You were angry somebody healed her on a Sabbath. Yeah. But you people didn't even try to heal her on any other given Monday to Saturday.
It's not like, so you know they don't care.
So you never really cared.
You never really cared.
Boy, Angeloh. How you doing? What's good? What's good?
Yeah.
Apostle John in his apostle outfit today. It's your boy,
a man of God.
Sent
to the nation.
Today is Apostle Coach, not Gen Z Millennial Coach.
No. Today I am Gen Z Millennial, but I'm just coming to like the Gen Z Millennial uncle. That's what's up. Keeping it cool. A neighborhood related.
Friendly neighborhood
comrade. That's what's up.
This episode is going to be dear to my heart because you people have triggered us a lot. And me personally, because I couldn't take this on because you see, if I allow you people say this thing I'm trying to say, you will rob me of the Jesus I met. And I'm not going to stand here and allow you to do that. We're discussing prosperity gospel.
Yeah. I just heard the alarms just going. I just
We are discussing prosperity gospel. It's a very sensitive subject. Yeah. And we, even though we look like we're just, I know people feel like we just have that energy or we're just randomly just ranting. Nah. Actually, a lot of people come here ranting, but it's funny. Nah. We're actually not ranting. It's just, we have to keep the conversation hearty and happy. Passionate and also fun to listen to because if we want to just carry strong face, like we can carry strong face and discuss it. But
today I'm in my strong face mode. I thought I brought my physical Bible copy, but we're blessed a lot.
There's no wala.
Blessed a lot.
So this topic is touchy because there's been a lot of abuse.
A lot.
There's also, and now in a bid to even correct the abuse.
Yeah, that's even my own.
There's been a lot of overreaching.
There's another extreme.
That is rising. Coming in the guise of trying to correct the prosperity gospel. And then there are those of us who I won't say a benefit. So because I think for me, because one of the things that tires me a lot with believers is when we focus so much on semantics, English, title. We start discussing theology, forgetting that it's human beings' lives. People.
So,
like you're just discussing something as if it's a debate in school.
So I'm thinking because I'm asking myself if we want to start on this note, but since you clicked there, this is my point usually. So when people talk about the guys who are against, now this podcast is, by the time please stick around. Because it's going to be a slow movement. In case you think we are supporting you and you're shaking your head.
No, relax. So
you go touch everybody.
There are two sides to the coins. We're not afraid of both sides. And even the edge of the coin, we're not afraid of it. We will roll together.
That's what we're known for.
That edge, I will put you into roll. We are ready to roll with it.
So every time people talk about prosperity, people coming to God because of prosperity, there's this new set of people rising. I don't want to mention the tags and stuff. Don't worry. But mostly a couple of young Christians. I've seen them young Christians. Now, because I grew up in a space where I'd seen the older generation of that camp. People don't like it, that movement of that camp. I've seen the older generation. when I was younger. When they talk about people coming to God and how people interact with God from a need standpoint, there's always a lack of empathy in their voice. So when people come, like, people are coming to God because of money, people are coming to God because of healing. The salvation is not for healing. And I'm like, if you were there on one of the sermons on the mount, if you're one of the disciples, you would have told Jesus to send the people away after 3 days of being with him without feeding them. Because why? Your case will be, if you give them food, they'll start coming to you because of food. You will advocate for Jesus to send people away in hunger. That would be your stand. I don't need you to. We don't need teleporting. We don't need time travel.
How many sick people and the person with epilepsy would you have gate kept from meeting their miracle that day?
Because Jesus didn't.
Because that was all they were coming to Jesus for.
So now, when we talk about prosperity gospel, that's where a lot of those trying to correct it come from. It's not, and they don't present a very balanced case.
They never.
It's just you're angry because a set of people are misusing it, which we are going there next. But bro, it's a necessity that people have needs in that area. And one of the things I don't like, we said it in the last podcast episode. I was just saying it again. One of the things I don't like is when, because you are privileged, because you grew up somewhere from a middle class family or from a family that's rich, because you've never been sent out of school. Because you've never been sent out of school. I'm saying that thing. You've never never dropped out of school. You've never been that child that when they teach headmaster or whatever.
I'm not stopping.
I know you.
Children's Day, year 2000, 2001, Children's Day. I was probably 7, 8. And I don't know why the church insisted on that thing. They had good intention.
Yeah.
So, if you watch the last episode, I told you I watched it everywhere. So this was a family church on a farm. So, small backstory, if you have been following me, you know this. I lived with 27 different families in my life.
Yeah.
So I've lived in abject poverty.
Yeah.
I've lived in face me, I slap you. I've lived in solid, amazing homes with rich people. I've lived with rich people that tried for you and rich people that treated you like a house boy. I've lived on farms. People keep shaking me and wondering why my hands are so soft. If I tell you what these hands have done,
bruh,
I've farmed. Normal crop farming.
Don't be deceived.
Animal farming, like with the cat chicken, the poultry farming, like proper poultry and goat farming.
I know it. Agriculture.
Bro, there are so many things I was traumatized with now that there was an advice I said John has been giving me in the last episode. I'm hoping to. But what I say is this. So that day, the good drill was parents buy toys for your children and present. Your children will stand on the altar. And you will come and present the toys.
It's a good idea, but
now you have to understand, my mom at that time was already 5 years into back-to-back in and out of coma of diabetes. You have to understand, that woman died of diabetes long before I was able to make it to start taking care of her. You have to understand, she did not die of diabetes because the thing was such a killer disease. If she just had her insulin and vegetable soup daily,
solid food,
she would have been with me now taking care of my young child. I shared it. Like, there are days I have to not think of those days.
Yeah.
You have to know, let me tell you what happened. So I'm here standing with my mates. And I'm watching my mother, who has barely eaten for the day, who I know because together last night, one of my remaining surviving toys that I managed to hold on to. By this time, I've lived with like 5 different families. My mom and I were awake, wrapping my toy up so she can come in the morning to present it as brand new to me on Children's Day. My wife still tries to convince me to be excited for Christmas.
Yeah. Angeloh is not.
Ask everybody around. I hate celebrations.
Angeloh hates
I'm
Christmas.
literally trying. It's taking a lot. Do you know how many celebrations I got scared with? For very basic things. And this is me that's supposedly suffering, but on the scale of suffer, this is not suffer. On the scale.
No, you still gonna meet some people who are
there's still levels of low.
And then you come to that person. And then you come to somebody like that, and then you look at that child in the eyes, and then you say, there's nothing like prosperity in God's kingdom.
Okay.
There's no provision. There's no promise of God that covers it at all. And then poverty, then you now start telling the person to embrace poverty. And I'm like, those preaching embracing poverty are usually those who have never been poor. Because no poor person, and any poor person that tells people to embrace poverty is most likely out of it. Or has not yet come to maybe the thing has done something to you in your brain that you are not like.
I'm yet to see any poor person. I've lived with plenty poor people. Nobody that is poor.
I've never really seen.
At most, they will have twisted ideas of what to do with wealth or how to get it.
But nobody thinks poverty is godly. So this new move of, because you don't like the prosperity gospel, quote unquote, because we're going to get there. You think the best thing to do is to convince people for poverty, brother, sister, I'm going to look you in the eyes.
You are wrong.
You are in error. Then you come tell people that, how can you, and you hear people saying, how can you be praying to God for money? Who made you, when did you do your CWS?
The gatekeeper of who
did you do your CWS or IT in
Heaven Prayer School?
Heaven
Prayer Department, Heaven's Customer Care.
Heaven's Customer, were you there? Who made you a gatekeeper?
For what people can pray for.
Why? From where to where? How?
Is your type that was telling people that cancer is the Lord's will. He's trying to teach you something with cancer. It's the same thing.
According to a man of God, the other place. Who are you? Where are you from? Because I'm saying you can address prosperity, which is what we're trying to do. So we're trying to establish this so that if you hold that thought and you're not able to wait for us to get to our point, it's okay. You can log off right now. But the truth is, this topic is not what I needed. Angeloh took it. I would have kept you people to the end, then entered. But since Angeloh went there, we're going there. This topic is not what you think it is. There's something in God's kingdom called prosperity. And there's actually nothing called prosperity gospel. There's only one gospel. There's nothing called healing gospel. There's nothing called marriage gospel. There's nothing like that. They all fall under one gospel. There's a life to live after salvation. Because the argument is usually the only promise of God is salvation. Every other thing, as I'm like, that's on you, bro. Don't bring it on. Like, don't stress nobody. If you're okay and you want to live in poverty, please go ahead and do it. It's actually biblical to be able to abound and abase. There was a recent thread on Twitter. I didn't want to disturb you. And people were talking about healing. And one guy was like, you need to have faith for healing. Make sure you are not in an environment that discourages you from believing and having faith and developing faith for healing. And people came and their response was, make sure you are not in an environment that makes you feel like because you have not received your healing, your faith is not enough. I'm like,
what are you talking about?
Where did you encounter the devil? Because I'm interested. Like,
how is that your takeaway from this?
That's a demonic.
You're trying to bring body shaming into faith shaming now.
Do you get faith shaming? You call
the gospel is not about this thing.
So Jesus looks at someone and says, "Oh, ye of little faith." So you think
it's faith shaming the person?
Faith shaming them. He was telling them that this is the way to live in this kingdom. If you're going to benefit anything, it's going to be by faith. So back to our topic, prosperity. I'm going to establish the fact that yes, there's prosperity. And we'll just go back to Genesis, to Abraham, the life he lived with God. If you're looking for a proper example of what a prosperous life looks like and how when God interacts with people when it comes to prosperity, go to Abraham, right? The problem is when dealing with a generation where we were raised in a space where a set of people taught prosperity as giving. So when you say prosperity, all people hear is giving. Give
to a certain person and certain place.
To a certain place in exchange
for what God will give you.
For what God will give to you.
Nice.
That's what people think is.
I can't blame you. That's what
prosperity. It's not your fault. Give tithes so that there's a seed of this. I mean, a lot of televangelists were doing it when in that now televisions are not a thing right now, but in the past, You call this number right now and give a seed of $100 seed of breakthrough. And you go and watch the Lord do, like, it's a whole program. And that's all they're doing. And people are calling. You're calling, you're in your hand, and they keep just psyching people. So now everybody thinks that's why. So that's why people are reacting to it.
I understand.
And I'm here to tell you that is not what prosperity is. Giving is just a part of, it's a part of it.
The cycle of prosperity.
In fact, like, giving is just a fraction. In fact, you give when you are prosperous.
You can't even give if you don't have.
If you can't give, you can't have. You don't have. So it's like, what now happens is everybody just thinks it's giving. So what they are fighting is the excess of giving, which if you any day you really fight that fight, I'm going to be in front. I will fight that one.
It's not even just giving. We are angry at the people that schemed us into giving to church and giving to pastors.
Yeah.
Nobody is fighting you for. Nobody fought anybody for giving to orphans.
No.
There's a particular fight.
No, because even the giving to orphans was not preached.
So because whenever people hear prosperity gospel, the only line that was emphasized was giving to the man of God preaching that gospel.
Exactly.
And the church he was running. So we understand that. But
and then there's the materialism.
Oh.
So people are mistaking an excessive giving teaching with a teaching that is encouraging materialism and assuming. So when you say, oh, I desire to prosper, what they hear you say is,
you want to live
you want to be
frivolous, lavish lifestyle that
you're
those
a
pastors were collecting
person.
Our tithes and offering to.
Yes, that's the assumption. So now the definition, I wish we brought a dictionary here.
No, just Google.
Now the definition of prosperity has been tainted, skewed in this generation. So there are young Christians who, once you seek prosperity, once they hear the word prosperity, there's a trigger. I'm telling you, the devil is having a field day, because that extreme is going to lead to what you... So you are sitting in church and there's AC in your church now.
Don't worry. Let the financiers
there was a time when the gospel of Christ was preached under hot...
I've watched it there.
And people say, but they were touching God. But in your AC, you are touching God.
Are you not touching God?
If they put that one and they put this one, which one are you going
Where
to
would
choose?
you rather go and be touched by God?
Same people that if they go to church and the church has...
And there's small lights go off in the middle of someone. Look at you.
But now you're advocating for what you've never experienced, right? So we're dealing with a situation where the definition, we have to... Like a generation has to come back and reclaim the original definition of what prosperity really is. Because even the greetings, some people, when you quote that, they'll say it's the greetings. It says, beloved, I desire above all things that thou mayest
prosper
and
be in good health.
So they say it's just a salutation.
It's a salutation.
And I'm like, she says, I desire, I don't know, man.
Desire is salutation.
I desire that you are in good health, even as your soul prospers.
No, sir, hold on. It's a desire. Okay, let's even agree it's a desire. Have you ever sent anybody Happy New Month and told them, I desire you remain poor and destitute?
You get.
Can you hear yourself? Like, why would you desire such thing for somebody? Have you ever seen anybody suffering and your desire was there for them to remain in suffering? Have you ever looked at a small child who was supposed to be in school? Have you looked at a small child? Have you looked at that small child that comes to wipe your window if you live in Lagos? There are plenty. They are pestering.
You think it's good?
Do you think it's because they have resources? Have you seen any child that has resources, access to resources doing that?
I don't want to guilt trip you, but if you see those kids on the street, and if you see those people suffering, and you see people coming online to raise funds, and you think it's okay, my brother, you have to check your heart. Because they now start attacking some people who say, oh, Selman was preaching, and then they took a clip of his message where he said, if you're a Christian, to try all your best and not to be poor. That's actually what inspired this topic, right? Try your best and not to be poor. And I saw Christians giving
disgraceful,
they deliberately misunderstanding him. Now you have to understand the statement, the follow-up statement. He said, some of these, Like he said, this inability to pay your house rent and stuff like that, that the impact, the psychological weight it causes for people, not being able to know where your next meal is coming from. Those things, those pain, I've seen it, but I was see. I didn't grow up in Lagos. My parents are ministers in a rural town in Benue State. We didn't. Maybe it's here in Lagos that we see these pastors who are very. It's not like that there, right? There were times when they had to sell the family car to sponsor church projects. And you had to be. It's not like anybody came and say no, you don't have. But the family had to check, even inside rain and this, they had to be taking bike, right? And the thing is that the fact that family was even able to sell that to put into God's work. Do you understand? That means
to even have to sell to put to God's work.
To God's work. Then now you don't have a point where if that money, if they don't make that sacrifice to God's work,
the work will not move.
There's going to be problem. Baba, there was this leaking roof and all those kind of things. Are people going to be worshiping?
Will you worship a leaking roof?
In God's this thing. You rather that the family go through. So, all I'm trying to establish is that finances is important. So he's saying, you don't want to see someone out of school. I have family members who are out of school, and it's not fun. It's painful.
There was a time in our suffering. So you have to understand, in all this living up and down, there was a time where my mother was squatting with somebody 4 streets away from where I was squatting. Like, my mother there was a time I moved around so much out of poverty. My mother was living under somebody in a 1-bedroom apartment 4 streets away from another 1-bedroom apartment where I was squatting with a family, where I came back from school one day and the woman threw me outside in my school uniform. And I stood on the street contemplating homeless. That this will be the first day I will sleep. That is, I will finally add I slept on the street to my story. It took a neighbor upstairs
who had
empathy
and had shelter.
And he said, and no, you no go sleep for road. Come stay with me. And I stayed some more. That is, I'm telling you, it happened so bad. I lived with 2 people in the same compound.
That was homelessness. And you look, like, thank God for how he has helped him. Do you know how traumatizing that thing is for a child? And the man is on stage saying, this was what he was saying, that this was what he was addressing, that as a believer, you know Jesus already. He said, try your best as a Christian.
It took for me to go to secondary school, public school, and then go to university.
Public school, not private.
A committee of 25 to 30 adults in church.
Can you imagine?
To be able to contribute the fee for maybe 2, 3, 4 people just to go to a public secondary school and in a public university. That school fees was 15,000.
Can you imagine?
That means even the system that was willing to help was so they did not have enough to support their families. So they have to gather the small pieces they have together to help 1 or 2 teenagers in need.
And a man stands on stage and says, try your best because of this kind of situation. And believers think they have a point. See, I don't care who you are. I don't care your level. I don't care your title. I don't care nothing. You're wrong on that. You're wrong on that because we must not allow the devil. See, now we're all aware, right? Everybody ID open like this. So we are seeing the devil take advantage of something clearly. Like, this is it's
broad daylight.
This is broad daylight robbery happening.
Broad daylight robbery.
The devil is skewing something. He's tampering with something and touching it. We are opening our eyes. Then another generation will come 50 years from now.
When the thing has fully
worked, and then we'll start wondering, what were they thinking then? The same way we relaxed as the body of Christ. And the devil took over entertainment and government and some of these institutions.
Why?
And asked believers not to engage. You
come and be an usher.
Now your eyes are open. You're saying, how come did we allow it?
That's exactly what you're doing now.
Because if we have people who are not empowered, if we have people who are poor in our midst, Solomon has something to say about the poor man's advice.
Oh.
No influence, no nothing, not even in your small family.
You are going so far, sir. How many of you? You know why I like Igbo people as a tribe? My Yoruba brethren will always say we are disrespectful. No, we are not disrespectful. In Igbo land, the respect is earned.
It's end.
You earn respect by accomplishments, by wealth, or by wisdom. Now, I said three things, right? But you see, even wisdom is proven and made credible by accomplishments and wealth. Then accomplishment is made credible by how much you have in your hand. Because I have it before, it's not property.
That's an Igbo. That's actually.
Let me bring it home. How many of you are in family meeting and some of you, your uncle that is firstborn, that cannot talk because your father is the last born, was the most prosperous. That your uncle is saying something.
Very important.
Very important, very wise, but nobody listens. It's in your Bible. Back to you, sir.
And that's what Solomon was talking about. So we're now advocating for. See, you can have a problem with the materialistic body of Christ.
Yes, there's
I have a problem there.
We have a problem with it too. We're coming there. Don't worry, you will collect.
I have a problem with it. That materialistic body of Christ. That one that...
We must address that mammon.
I don't like that thing. That Gucci one. I don't like that Gucci Christianity. But at the same time, if you see...
In trying to correct that. Your best idea is to match
poor
step on the poor.
Whatever you think we are seeing right now, it will multiply you. The devil in Africa, I don't know of other parts of the world. I live in Africa. In Africa, the devil
has
and the
weaponized poverty.
Has weaponized poverty.
It's a weapon.
It's his number one tool.
Primary weapon.
Primary weapon. Primary weapon is poverty. He has used it. By the time poverty grows to a point, triggers greed in people. They're insatiable, and then they start going, they start taking. Baba.
It triggers survival.
Yes.
Where it's no longer just okay for you to get your own. You want to take the other person's own. Covetousness kicks in.
That's poverty mindset. It's never enough.
It's never enough. Then it's never enough truly. So you have to even take the other person's own so that you can have enough.
Yes. Because you're scared of going there. The fear of poverty will make them rob an entire country. People don't see the connection. So my problem is, like I said, we don't get into conversations. We take our time. There are topics we are not going to discuss now until 5 to something, 10 years from now. We might be in our 40s when we discuss those topics. Because we will take our time to look at the different angles. Before you rush out to me to take a stand against something, check the angles. It's not just that point of view. It's not that POV. That's not the only POV. There are other POVs. While you are advocating for poverty, you don't know what you're doing. You are supporting the devil's agenda, something that they have used to weaponize people. I saw a video a few days ago.
The bread one, Abi.
They were sharing bread to people's mothers.
Loaf of bread.
Grandmothers.
Loaf of
there was
bread.
Security there.
Security. Guarding the people.
A loaf of bread.
A loaf of bread.
Come on, man. A loaf of bread.
There was people were supposed to come out to protest the hardship in the land.
Yes.
And they were able to use stipend to bribe a set to come out and protest against the protest.
And then
some of them came out, even one came out and protested that they didn't even pay them the money they promised to pay them.
It was poverty that they used to make them do that. Elections in Nigeria, they will keep the country poor. Now, what do you think they're trying to do? Remain poor. So that when they bring out that they are 1,000, and if the contest gets out, then they'll raise it to 2K.
They will gather, okay, you know.
Sorry to cut you. I just remember the story. During the I'm trying to remember the year, but one of the elections when I started voting, I went to the polling unit, and then it was a copper who was controlling the thing, like a couple of coppers. I was young then, like I was done with uni. I was done with uni or so. I think I was 25 or something then. And then the guy comes to me like, Baba, based on me now, I look like a young person were in eye clear. So like they're giving 1.5 for people like me to vote for a certain
1.5.
Party that has a covering.
Umbrella.
So I was like, dude. Then I was using a tea salad. I had these I was using a tea salad. I used to subscribe my what's the name of that thing? BlackBerry or something. With 3,000 or so. I've forgotten how much I used to subscribe, but it was more than the month. I was like, bro, this phone right now, the subscription on this phone, that money you're offering me cannot subscribe this phone. Like what I was trying to tell him was that I was comfortable beyond what you're offering me, so you can't.
Then I should not use that to mortgage the next 4 years of the entire nation. My life.
I'm a young guy, right?
4 years of my opportunities.
I was like, but the only reason why I was able to look him in the eye and say such a thing was because, my
lifestyle is above this now.
It was above that.
You 1.5. You can't change my life with 1.5 now.
Imagine if it was someone else.
That 1.5 is a serious money too.
1.5 is a serious money too.
They are the majority. By far.
So if you think you are encouraging poverty in a place like Africa, you are aligning with the devil. So now, part 2. Dix 2.
Side B.
Is materialism, greed, and this giving gospel that the devil has also touched and tampered with. Because giving now, this is what he has done. In an environment where prosperity is properly taught, you're going to see innovation. You're going to see people develop. You're going to see ideas. You're going to see, like, for the agenda, like, because most people now start doing, I know in the beginning, some people have been, don't anything. Don't anything. We're coming for you.
Not safe.
No, you're not safe. That's the one I want to break. Because you would think that the other side of people who say, oh, we are preaching prosperity. We want the people to be, to prosper because of these things, these situations you and I raised, right? What they end up teaching is laziness and painting false hope. Painting, I don't even know the word to use for it, because now you tell someone, if you give God this $100, you're going to become rich. How true is that? God is going to give you money. You're not telling the person that, because when people talk about how God gives, we'll still come back. There's the miraculous part of prosperity. There's a miraculous arm of prosperity, which is basically, it's usually an intervention.
Yes.
In the interaction of the prophet and the woman, there was the interaction of the prophet and the woman.
Yes, there was.
There was a miracle involved. There was the other side of it, which is, in Israel, that side is constant. For the Jewish community, that side is constant. The miracle was that there was an oil that did not cease.
Yes.
There was an oil in her house.
What followed?
That did not cease.
After that.
But there was the borrowing of vessels. And there was the go and sell it. In today's Christianity, if that woman came there, she would have been told to sell that small oil. She would have
been told to give the oil to God.
Give the oil to God and go back home and fold your hands and sit down. It's wrong. It's wrong. Very wrong. That's not the person you tell about tithe. It's the businesswoman, the one that has now gone and started selling and would prosper. That's the one that cannot tithe. That's the one that cannot give. So we're putting
Paul said the cart before the horse. Paul said, of course, he was talking to lazy people and thieves, or people who were thieving in church. But it's a principle.
He applies.
Because the reason they were thieving was because they didn't have.
Yeah.
They didn't have, so they weren't giving and they were thieving. what was Apostle's advice? Let the thief no longer steal, but get a job.
Yes.
So that they can have enough to give.
Yes. Kai, the Bible is complete.
You were supposed to tithe, everybody is shouting about. If you had this 10% they asked of you, if you get money, it's 10%. Some of you do very frivolous things with money. If I tell any of you now, you are 30 days, track your finances. Even you that are shouting you don't have money, you'll be surprised the things you spend on. Parfait every Sunday afternoon.
That one is constant.
You'll be shocked how much you're spending on parfait and small chops. If they taught us, this is where that prosperity gospel thing is.
Yes.
Giving is not a bad. So this first things first, they didn't teach you how to actually make money.
No, they were not teaching you prosperity.
Actually, they were not teaching you prosperity.
They were teaching you giving. They were teaching you giving. That's giving and prosperity are two different messages. That's what we came to say.
And they were not even teaching you giving. They were they were manipulating you, because even the giving was not. When the Bible talks about giving, there's a plethora of scenarios to give to.
Wide.
Nobody was giving to widows. Nobody was giving to orphans. Before somebody has given everything they had to church before they think of the widow next door.
So bad that rich believers are driving to church, cool cars and everything. They are like what was it? An army of members trekking down the street to the church. Another set on queues waiting for cabs or stuff. And you see the rich believer just drive through. Not one, not two, not three, not four. So even the purpose for
wealth
is not known. It's not known. That's what I'm saying. You can't say they were teaching prosperity.
They were not teaching prosperity. That thing is not cool.
Even the purpose for wealth is not known.
In their neighborhood. Attaching that thing as prosperity.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to go. You can't attach that thing as prosperity to gospel. You are going to.
Because even unbelievers don't use prosperity like that.
They don't move like that. So there's no time where they are saying, oh, you can't say, oh, there are people who are dependent on them, who they are helping. They are not like no one within their neighborhood, nobody, no nothing. But coming to church, no one is looking at observing a certain brother who is wearing the same clothes every time, the same shoes. No one is looking at him like, I have like how many in my wardrobe that I'm not using now. Bless this brother. So you can't tell me that is prosperity. You can't call that prosperity gospel. That's what I'm saying. If you want to attack something, take your time to understand it first. It was one, I don't know the name to call that. Whatever it was not prosperity.
And it wasn't gospel.
And it wasn't gospel. Now, back to the Jewish way of prosperity. You would see that Abraham, first of all, he was not a pastor. We have to establish that one.
Nobody was sowing tithe.
Nobody was sowing anything to him. And there's nothing wrong. Like I told you, from ministry family.
Don't get it twisted.
So I'm not attacking, but I'm saying it wasn't. We have to establish.
Because let's tell the truth. All of us are not going to be pastors. It's just a fact of life. So how does Abraham's story make sense to all of us?
Because every believer thinks the only way they are going to receive is by people giving to them. Because usually the examples of prosperity they've seen or prosperous people in the community are people who people give to. So it's looking like the only channel through which God can make a man prosperous is for giving.
The problem now, we now have to ask, which is why a lot of people now are fighting so hard to start ministries.
People that should not
should probably have been doing something else. Because the only true kingdom way of being prosperous and the routes that come there, because pastors are priests. Priests traditionally in the Bible were not supposed to work.
They were
supposed to be given every single thing they have.
Levites.
And they were supposed to, they didn't say this, Levites were not living uncomfortably.
They were living.
Levites were taken care of. Ask the Pharisees.
Was given.
Look at the Pharisees are priests, so
it was given.
They were taken care of. They were being given everything they have. So you cannot use them. You cannot use pastors as the yardstick for kingdom prosperity or how to be rich as a believer or how to live a comfortable life as a believer, because it doesn't apply to everybody else.
Now let me shock you. The pastors are now carrying mics and now preaching their pattern as the kingdom pattern.
No, sir.
And I'm here to say it doesn't work like that.
The banker does not have anybody he's preaching to on Sunday.
So everybody is now waiting for him. That was what was now propagated for years. What I'm saying, 5 years, for decades. So when this generation come and they want to attack, I'm like, slow down, do your homework. We've been following this thing for years. We've been building up on this topic for a long time, because you don't want to just come and attack something. And you don't, and the alternative you are providing is years from now we'll need to start on doing
another problem.
Something. You won't create new problem for us with our eyes open, because we are now saying, you look at Abraham, he was not a pastor. So in the case of tithing, he was not a pastor. He was a farmer. So you hear, and God blessed him in flocks, his sheep, cattle. He was a farmer. It's recorded there that God's blessing increased so much so that when his grandson went into the house of a man
to marry his daughter,
him being there because of that blessing, he was not giving. The blessing made what he was doing to prosper. And then the man recognized it and said, this Jacob boy, things are working here. So the longer I can keep him, the better. Yes, these people are not.
The blessing was not making money fall from the sky, The blessing was helping the work.
He was helping the work
yield results. Because the cause was that you will work and no results. The blessing helps you get results.
Please,
it means
say that thing. Don't.
When our father and mother ate apple, the cause is that you will work hard, sweat, till this ground just to see what you can eat.
You will not see.
So the blessing biblically shows that men, and you hear Isaac sowed in the land, and he did not just reap.
Sowed. He
didn't sow into the life of somebody. He sowed into the land. He was a farmer.
They had a career.
And why they had to specify? He sowed during famine. During drought. So it means there were other farmers who couldn't even dare to farm because they knew it was not going to come out.
But the blessing
made someone farm. Then let's say there were others who say, why is that guy planting seed? Maybe there's something he knows I don't know. Let me copy him and sow too. Maybe everybody had a harvest. They now had to specify. He reaped 100-fold.
There's a reason. You get why.
The
Bible is not wasting ink. There's a reason why they specified that. His grandson
will be working for a wicked man. And the wicked man knows this young man, his hand, there's something on him.
But they were walking.
Generations later, there's a young man in an Egyptian's house.
Yes, same family line.
Same family lineage.
What is generations?
Is his great-grandson.
That's his great-grandson.
His great-grandson is in the house of a strange land.
Yes.
And they said the Lord was with him.
Yes.
And the things he was doing used to move. Even the owner of the house knew that his boy's things was moving. A pagan.
So to say the God's blessing does not include that part, you must be denying 4 generations.
Don't say Abraham's blessings are mine. Don't say your father is not Abraham. Your father is something. You're going to find him, but your father is not Abraham.
Because you must be designed, you must have to clearly look at the Bible and say, it never happened for Abraham, it never happened for Isaac, it never happened for Jacob, and never happened for Joseph. You have to clearly look at it and deny it. So now we're here. I mean, there was a time, I've mentioned this in one of the episodes, where see, we're not troublesome people. We're just people who like learning, we like paying attention to things. We now say, let's go and even listen to Jewish rabbis. What are they saying about prosperity from their stand? Because it's their culture. The first reference, the prototype is from their culture.
Yes.
So let's see if they are talking giving.
What exactly?
Only for one of their rabbis, his name. So I don't like recommending people.
No recommend.
Because
you can ask us
the video you watched, you can go down the page and then the person can start saying, so I'm not saying he's saying that, like, these days it's difficult for me to just
endorse people.
Because the one that they said that made sense today
They might go in the front
You
now.
might go into other videos and then
today's video, now start saying things that don't concern anything.
That does not, so
and this our generation that want to cancel R. Kelly and all his songs. Baba, he changed me. He gave me a second chance. So it's a good song.
So
cancel the man. Please leave the song for
so
us.
Me, I will just speak.
I'm joking, guys. So it's true now. Like,
so I'll just pick a message, the few series that are aligned, right? And then he says when they watch Christians talk about prosperity, that is completely off.
When they watch Pentecostals
especially,
because we're the only ones that used to move that movement.
Talk about prosperity. Yeah, it's completely off what they know
from the Bible,
from that same Bible, like the Torah. What they understand prosperity to be, because their major reference point for prosperity is actually in the Torah, right? That's what they understand, and what it's like they see it and they're like, where did this come from? Where did this come from? And they said for them, this is how I've explained this thing before, but I'll still explain it again. This is how prosperity works. They believe that God created a system for man to live in prosperity. Now, before I go forward, I made a mistake earlier, and I'm going to double down on it now. If your idea of prosperity is materialism and oppressive, I don't know, using money for oppression,
to match people's neck,
and just an extravagant living, parking 7 cars in a compound and all that. If that's what your ideas of prosperity is, you have missed it. That's not what we're talking about. If that's your idea, if that's what you're thinking, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, that's not what I'm talking about. There are two different things. Because this thing has been, what's the word, misrepresented?
Abused.
It has been abused.
Prosperity now is a P word.
Yeah, it's a P word, bro. Actually, that's the title of this podcast. The P word. So he said, God's plan for prosperity, according to them and how they understand it, is that he has created a system where it's an economic system where as long as you have something to offer your community, you should be able to get something in return to live a standard life. So if you are the one providing the buttons for this cloth, right? And then the tailor needs your button to make this cloth. Tailor is going to pay you for the buttons. I'll pay the tailor for the cloth. So you get the circle. Then let's say me who bought the clothes, I'm a cook. The button guy and the tailor
will come and eat in my restaurant.
So the money is going around. So when people accuse them, like I'm not coming here to defend any tribe shop, but what I'm saying is the money is going around. With that, everyone is taken care of as long as you have something
to contribute to the community,
the society. And most times they believe God has given everyone something. You just need to find it. So the core of prosperity teaching should have been to help people to find that thing.
To find
that thing that God has given them.
To offer to the community.
Yes.
And I want to, sir.
Go on.
To offer to the community and be paid for.
Yes.
Because the other side of this whatever thing that they call prosperity gospel that is not a gospel, neither it is proper prosperity, would rather that even you that manage to discover, bring it and give it for free. That is why I know it's not prosperity. It's not prosperity because it's not a principle of prosperity.
It's not the principle.
It's not a principle of
value. The real core principle is that values. It's an exchange of value. So now when you are seeing a community of people who they say they are teaching them prosperity,
and all of them are poor,
and nobody has value there. They are not the ones offering value, guy.
That's why they are poor.
That's why. No, it's not. That's why
they are poor.
They
will forever be poor. When they say the poor will always be with you. When they say the poor, they say you will always be with them.
They will always. Once there's no value, it will be
in every system where this so-called P word was being taught.
Yes.
You will always notice that people either didn't have value,
yes,
or value is not respected.
It's not respected. And the places where it's originally taught, I can give example of some few churches, but I don't want to get into that.
No, there's no need.
Watch them. Everybody there. Everyone there has a value. Everyone has something they're offering. Everyone is developing.
There was a church that was being dragged recently.
Yeah.
I used to be a member of that church when I was a child. Let me now tell you why I left that church.
Talk.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning.
Bro. Every day they have an activity.
There's service, prayer meetings, service in church. Not even in the evening.
I know cases of people.
9 a.m.
One of them.
All the way to 3 p.m.
Yes.
And I was watching thousands of youths carrying,
help us, Lord,
application letters. The ones that didn't carry anything at all. Praying fervently for breakthrough, for job applications.
So
and I was 13 years old and I was asking myself, is this not the time where you're supposed to go and apply for the jobs?
Bro.
I've seen all of you here 7 days straight.
I see people are closing their shops. I know situation of people
there are people who own shops
who the moment they joined that denomination,
they close service, and I'm like,
the BI's business crashed.
So I'm like, how it's not making sense. That's why I left too.
No.
Then
you stay too long.
You now see that's one side. Then you now see another system that does not respect professionals.
Kai.
That does not respect value.
So let me tell you now, the product of that thing you're saying is the product of an environment that does not understand prosperity.
You didn't understand it. It's not prosperity gospel they were teaching. You
understand prosperity.
You understand
and
prosperity.
You don't respect value.
Nah.
You can't recognize value. You don't have respect for value. So you're having believers.
Encourage value.
You don't encourage value.
Because it's the same systems. Some of us are so quick to jump around. Wow, they are using media companies now. Everywhere agenda, this, politics, everybody is demonic. It's these same ministries, this same P-word gospel that is not a gospel and is not prosperity.
Yes.
That in my presence, across all these different kinds of places and generations, we're looking at high-performing individuals who their only mistake was to give their life to Christ. And they told them to leave professional engagements.
I know.
And come and become valueless ushers.
Any day you see me at anywhere,
valueless Sunday school teachers.
I have tangible stories.
We know people.
We know people. We know families.
High-flying individuals.
We know families. I know a guy then in secondary school, in the boarding house, where something happened to him and then he was ranting. He started ranting and it was about how his dad was like a bank manager in the 90s. In the 90s.
Golden era.
Yes. Dad was a bank manager in the 90s. And then, this fellowship now told this, told the guy. Told his dad to, no, this one is not even a P fellowship. Those other sets that.
The
ones that encourage, the one that encourage poverty. There are 2 P's here.
They are the ones that push prosperity. They are the ones that push poverty.
Those ones now told his dad to resign. That God will take care of the family, that they should do God's work. So for years, this guy struggled to go to school. It kind of affected him psychologically. So that day he was reacting. It was one of those trauma. I was so young, but I understood the story because I grew up in the church community. So I heard such things before. And he was ranting and he was acting as if he was losing his mind. On the very day he was doing, like he was talking, people were around him hearing him talk, but me, I could hear those things because I was from the community. I understood what this guy was saying. I don't know if that was part of what triggered it, but he was dealing with some psychological issues. He was ranting. There are families like that. There are young people like that who will never, they run away from God because they watch their families just start living substandard lives because they, quote unquote, give their life to Christ. So there are two sides. So while you're hitting the other prosperity people, there's those ones
the side that you're standing by. There's
your side.
Effects that
there's the effects too.
You're not new, don't worry. You're not brand new.
You're not the first. You're not the first.
You're just 2024 generation.
You're the model 2024. You're not new, and it has its effect. So I'm saying both the
pro-prosperity, anti-prosperity.
All of
you have problem.
There's problem. We must all come together to understand what is the real design of God for prosperity, for kingdom prosperity. It should be understood. There's need for it to be understood. There's a teaching on it. There should be teachings on it. If you feel there's no teaching on it, please, away from me. Far away from me. There should be teachings on it. We're in a continent
that desperately
needs that teaching. And the devil, knowing that that was what we needed, decided to contaminate what was coming here. And decades upon decades, we are hearing that they are teaching prosperity in Africa. And you come to the African, you go to the place that they are not teaching prosperity. Like, dude, what's happening here?
They are really not teaching prosperity.
They're not really teaching prosperity. You are helping the devil achieve his agenda. Because whatever makes people not understand value, whatever people not understand development, what are you saying? Ranting about the Supreme Court's judgment years ago in America, it's been long now, it should be almost 10 years or something, when the Supreme Court overruled for, so many all those
the rainbow
people and all that. And then Christians are vibrating. I was younger. So you have to understand, this is not this version.
Not this refined version.
I was younger. And not like I was very concerned about anything. But I told myself, and I said, I guess the person that was supposed to be a judge, that God would have positioned to be a judge, might have been encouraged to drop out of law school to go and do ministry.
Or even resign from
the bar. To go and do ministry because he feels like this thing he's doing is not
what is judiciary compared to the winning of souls.
Exactly. So with that, he left a gap. And the devil, smooth driving.
So the bringing this to a head, one of the heart of one of the things we are seriously encouraging the body of Christ is it goes back to that thing, that opening that John brought, which was really Jesus who brought that up. And I say that because we have a modern day parallel where, it was triggered by the whole Gates Baba charging tickets for a show. And then there was this whole big conversation where people even had the audacity to declare that, if you're a minister and you're doing this for God, you should be willing to starve your children who go to school. Streets. And I was looking at these young boys that are trying so hard to pass exam and jackpot, running their mouth on the street recklessly, their high and lofty Twitter account.
I think it makes you...
You sound... Why? You are desperate. I know you are desperately trying to relocate. Some of you have. And you're here running your mouth. And what I'm just saying is the same way where Jesus looked at them, which you also added a very serious insight to was, this woman is here, has been with you, among you, in serious pain. In serious need,
worshiping God,
with serious disadvantages,
committed.
It never burdened any of you to lift her load, and you're worried that I did it on the Sabbath day.
I disrupted
your fancy, comfortable rules and regulations and theories. You are more concerned with rules and regulations and semantics and theology than the humans the Sabbath was created for.
Yes, sir. Go there. Press on. Raise on.
You are more. He asked a question: who was this? Is man made for the Sabbath or the Sabbath for man?
Facts. People don't understand that question.
Is man made for the Sabbath or the Sabbath for man? Why did God institute it? What did God do on the Sabbath day? Between the Sabbath and God, who needed the Sabbath day?
People don't get it.
Why did God institute the Sabbath for man? It is for man's benefit to rest. What does rest do? Rejuvenate the body, soul, and spirit. There's a woman here who is in need of rejuvenation.
Comes every
all
Sabbath.
days to be rejuvenated is the Sabbath day.
That's the day.
Why do I bring this?
Where you are going to is where you are going to is a good one. Reason where.
If you are more concerned for your high-sounding theology than the human lives involved and affected by the opinion you're pushing in a negative way, you are not one of God.
You are not. You have not encountered.
And in case I missed where you're going to, please.
No, you have not.
You have not encountered the heart of God.
You have not encountered the heart of God. What you have encountered is the book.
You like being sounding intelligent.
It's Christian religious studies.
It's your type that used to be doing. I'm a reformed. I'm a this one. I'm a.
When you touch, you leave all those tags.
You are too impressed with how much you know. There's a human being. There are young girls along Allen.
He says, and Jesus had compassion on them before any healing, before the food, before he multiplies the food.
Sermon.
There's compassion.
You know, it's so funny that before he even starts to preach any message, he heals people first.
Yes, he can't help it. He can't help seeing them in pain.
How are you happy that the person is poor? Even the so-called missionaries that you were trying to
use as a standard.
Do you realize they were suffering because there were people who were supposed to be supporting them that couldn't afford to? When the apostles, why was the apostle hailing some churches? There were people going through things that some churches took upon themselves to support those people. It's not a badge of honor to suffer poverty.
Reason.
Nowhere in the Bible is it a badge of honor.
That's what we're saying.
The badge of honor was that you were supposed to be sending help to those people.
Here you are.
If there's a missionary among you suffering, they are not supposed to suffer.
They are not.
And if they have enough for themselves, they should have more than enough to equip the community they are in.
And let me add, the fact that you don't have enough to send to them
is also a problem.
That's what we are saying.
That's what we are discussing. That you don't.
If you think it's okay that you are not sending to them,
not sending to them.
If you went to sleep tonight and you felt it was okay that you are not sending to them because this is your prosperity.
You went to bed tonight. There's no widow under your care. There's no IDP camp that has seen a transfer from you.
You should have.
There's no orphanage you have sent Indomie cartons to in the past quarter. Don't worry, I've not done it. No, I've not done it too. We're all on the table. I know why I've not done it. I don't have money. You want
to trigger me now because
I don't have money. No, I want to trigger you. I don't have money. I'm broke. That's why. I know what I want to do with money. God knows my heart. He knows what I will do with money. But
or what you have been, man, he's trying to be, Angeloh is trying to be, Angeloh, even in his whatever he say, Angeloh, like me and they are people. No worry.
Guy.
Don't worry. But the level, that's what he's saying is the level.
Is that help? It was on my help they were relying on it for dying.
No, they for die.
You don't understand what I'm saying?
Those ones are just small.
Is it the small one that you were doing? Is it that thing they are living on? No.
They can't live on that.
They can't live on it now. They can't set them up.
There are people you know you should. There are young people who you know you should be able to help.
That you're satisfied that you gave one fat widower and his 3 children 10,000 2 months ago. Is that what they are living with?
In this time and
that's season. What I'm going for now. You have not solved the problem.
Now that he went there, he triggered me. Our brothers and sisters are in the north, right? The Northern Church. It's a very passionate thing for me, so I don't like talking about it. They are victims of terrorism. People went to church on the Sunday, went to worship God, and while they were singing hallelujah, a flashlight, a bang sound, boom, and everything gone. Pastor dead, those who survived are struggling, lost their homes, machetes, those who are handicapped, those who their hands were cut, like all manner of things, right? Then they are thrown into the IDP camp by the government. And normal government setting in Nigeria, I don't need to tell you what that place will look like.
Even the staff working for government.
I don't need to tell you talk less of IDP camp, right? And the church in Nigeria especially the ones who have experienced prosperity, we've not been able to do anything for them. That's what I'm saying. If you really understand God's system of prosperity, you will know that this other thing is wrong. You will know that this thing is counterfeit.
It was never prosperity.
You know that thing is counterfeit. That thing is counterfeit. And I mean, I'm here in the Southwest. The church in the Southwest looks rich to me because they be spending. You know what I'm saying?
Spending.
They be spending.
Global spending.
Bro, they be spending.
I ain't got a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'm just saying, like.
But that heart thing that we're saying, everybody sits here and thinks, how about those guys who are in these IDP camps? I saw a church the other day. I saved that video. Getting emotional now. And the pastor was sitting in front. No roof. No chairs. None of the things we have in our church. Tomorrow is Sunday. We're recording this on the Saturday. None of the things we will encounter in worship tomorrow. Those guys didn't have it. And they were singing and worshiping God. A non-completed building that has been scattered by, terrorists and bandits. And they are Christians. They were singing. They're singing. I saved the video because for me, it was like all we need are just few Christians who have the ability to do it, and they'll rebuild that building for them. And just in case you've seen that video and you can do something about it, do something about it. For real, do something about it. This is the real prosperity gospel, if there is one. This is the real prosperity. Do something about it. There's so many people in the north, that churches who have been scattered, destroyed. They don't have to be your branch. They don't have to be a branch of your church. They don't have to be from your denomination. They don't have to be that. They are Christians. They can't do anything. They can't walk. Their nations are like the space where they live. The communities are disrupted and scattered and everything is disorganized. Do something about it. That's the true prosperity. And a lot of us who see it, that's why I say, some of us who see we can't do nothing because we're not even empowered enough yet to that level. We're pushing and going to that level, but this is what I want to see. This is why that man made that statement and I was not angry with him. If you love Jesus and you can be prosperous, please try to. Doesn't disqualify you from going to heaven, doesn't it?
Please, sir, you bring this back. I just want to say something. I need you to end on this note. We're at the point of this recording, America is, in the middle of heated political campaign for presidential elections. And you're hearing things about a particular party fast-tracking immigrant relocations, setting them up at alarming rates let me not go into the details of why. But what I'm saying is there are people, for the sake of political agenda, are fast-tracking immigrants who have been displaced in their homes, flying them en masse and planting them or replanting them in new cities in their hometown and setting them up for future political agenda.
Of course, we know what you're doing.
So is it that with all the resources we have, we don't know how we can fast-track, replant IDPs?
You get. That's what I'm saying. We don't know maybe you should do another episode, but I don't think we should.
No, we're ending it here. Like
God's agenda for kingdom prosperity should also be understood if prosperity was clearly taught. If it was clearly taught, it should have been understood. The use of it. So that's why I said, if you were doing from the beginning, be careful, bro. We don't move like that. Not here. If you're able to touch, let's say you have prospered. You're among us. And the best thing you can do is to bring big cars and all these things. And you don't worry about the Christians in the north. Well, you're wrong.
Or even the Christian near you.
Even the ones near you here in Lagos, you're wrong. But for me, I'm saying even the entire church, I'm calling out the whole church.
All of us.
Like the entire church, all of us put together. There are people in the north who've lost their churches. We're going into state-of-the-art worship centers tomorrow or any day you watch this video. Going state-of-the-art worship centers on Sundays. We're going to be in those spaces. There are people who have been displaced. There are believers there are kids who no longer have parents. Not just Christians, even Muslims.
Because charity is also a very powerful
that's what we're
evangelical
called to do. That's what we're called to do. The believers. And some of those spaces, if you go and preach to them, you get why Jesus, they give some people food. There's a reason why he heals some people. A lot of you, there are two categories of people I'm speaking to. A lot of you look at them and you don't have nothing moves in your heart. You look at them and you feel like you just want to catch them down and do Bible study. You just want, block it. You don't want
impartation.
Catch them and do Bible study and do impartation. You've not impacted them. There's a reason why Jesus saved that woman. You would have preached to her while they were about to kill her. Let's see whether she will listen to him. He looked at her and said,
"Who never hands in the air. No hands."
And then he's like, go and sin no more. You get why? The reason why the man who came to him for healing, it was after the healing, he told him, he said, go and sin no more. Hence, what will happen to you? So that there was one of the guys. For us, I feel like we should come to a point where if we are calling something prosperity gospel and it does not have this element, it doesn't have this compassion.
It doesn't have compassion for the needy. It doesn't equip the saints on how to actually create value and respect value and trade value.
Yes.
If not for anything, so that you can have to still give. Because 2 Corinthians 9 still tells us, he said, our God is more than able to give you all sufficiency. So that having all that you need, you may have to give to every good work. That is prosperity by the gospel of Jesus.
Yes, that's the one we're teaching. That's what this episode is about.
And
I believe
with these few points of
ours, you know where we stand. If you still disagree, check your spirit. Because it has been we've tried our best to present a balanced case for and against.
The P word.
The P word.
The P words.
The P words.
Prosperity gospel and the poverty gospel.
Stand. If you check your spirit. Because it has been we've tried our best to present a